Now, one of my favorite elements to design, the navigation bar. And you will be interacting with navigation bars every day of the week and all of the software that you use. Now, there is a lot to a navigation bar. For instance, we have a logged out view with the login buttons or the sign up buttons. And then we have the logged in view, such as we might see a little avatar icon that we can click to reveal a drop down. So we will continue to build this navigation bar through the duration of the course. But in this particular lesson, we're going to do three things. We're going to create the Navbar reusable element. Then we're going to set up the structure of that navigation bar into three parts or three columns. And then we're going to drop the elements inside those particular columns, such as the branding on the left, the links in the middle, and the buttons on the right. Let's dive in. Here is a logged out view, okay? The user is not signed in, so therefore they see the login and sign up buttons. But this is at a desktop width. Of course, this design won't work very well on mobile. So if we go down to mobile, you can see that we now have an icon here where we can reveal the navigation in a more mobile formatted design. So let's go ahead and create a new reusable element. I'm going to call this Navbar. And we're going to create. We're going to bring up the property editor. First thing we're going to do is set this to a column layout. We're going to match the page width, which is 1400. And we're going to set the height to 80, both on the min height and the max height. We're going to set left-right padding of 32 and 32. Over on the Appearance tab, what I'd like to do is just have a bottom border. Now, we don't currently have a border color of which I would like to set up now. So let's do that. So let's head over to the Styles tab and choose Style Variables. Now, we've currently used up all of these color styles. So Bubble has given us the opportunity to create more, and we can create 32 colors in total, most of which will be tints and shades of existing colors. But there is a single border color for a uniform design that I'd like to create, okay? So we're going to create a new color variable. We're going to name this borders. We're then going to say element and container borders, and then create. Now we're going to set the color, and the color is going to be E5, E5, E5. Now that's set. So we can also delete this if we want, but you can create up to 32 different colors here. Back on the Design tab, I'd like you to bring up the property editor for the Navbar one more time. Click on the Appearance tab. Now we're going to choose Define each border independently. So now we can define an independent design for each of the sides. We're just going to choose a bottom border style of solid. And then we're going to bring up the swatch and pick this new color that we've just created. Let me bring up the property editor so you can see it. So click the swatch and it will be on the next row here. And that just creates a little separation between our nav bar and the rest of the content. And by the way, this navigation bar is actually going to float on top of the page, meaning that the content will scroll underneath. Let's do that now. Let's bring the property inspector back up. And type of content, we're going to, type of element, we're going to set a floating group. Okay, now it sits above the page. Okay, so you remember earlier on when I said that we need to contain the footer content with a max width of 1200. Well, we need to do the same with this nav bar. So I'm going to grab myself a group. I'm going to draw it inside. I'm going to rename this to group container. I'm going to head over to the Layout tab, and it's within this container that we're going to drop further groups, and they need to be distributed on the X-axis. So I'm going to choose row. Now I'm going to remove the fixed width of this new group container. I'm going to set a max width of 1200. I'm going to remove the min width. And I'm going to uncheck fit height to content. So now it fills the vertical space, and we can remove the min height as well. So it is good practice that if you are not using a particular value, such as the 46 you just saw in there, if that's not being applied, actually remove it altogether or set it to 0. Okay, it's currently left aligned, so I'm going to horizontally align this in the center. What might be useful is under the view option, we do have show element borders. So if I click that, and I might just change the color to my actual borders color. And now I'm able to see the edges of these groups. So let's keep that going for now. Okay, let's review the design one more time. So if I go back to a desktop view, you can see that we have brand on the left, links in the center, buttons on the right. So basically what we're going to do to achieve this design is drop 3 more groups and at Flexbox distribute the width of these groups with perfect mathematics. So it will decide how wide these groups need to be. So we're going to grab some more groups now, and do make sure that you have group container set to a row, left align is fine. So I'm going to grab another group. I'm going to draw it inside group container. I'm going to call this group brand. And actually head over to the appearance tab, because I do want to add just a little bit of color here. So choose flat color, choose your primary blue, and just 10%. So just give us an easier indication of what we're working with. Okay, we're going to choose row distribution for these, because inside we're going to have the image and the word workplace. And I'm not going to choose fixed width. I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to let it span the full width. I'm going to remove the min width because I'm not using it. And I'm going to set the min height to 80, just so it is the same height. Okay. Now time for some magic. So we have group brand. We need 2 more groups. So I'm going to copy paste with my keypad. And it's going to drop it to the right because of the row distribution on the parent group container. Let me name this group links. And I'm going to do that one more time. We call this group buttons. Okay, now I'll just highlight all 3. And we can just actually set the flat color back to white. Let's also make sure that on the navbar itself, we also have a flat color. It's currently white. I'm just going to choose my style here. It's better to have it attached to a style. Okay, now for group brand. So if we go back to the footer a second, we've already done some work here, okay? It's called group brand. So why don't we do this? Why don't we say edit, convert to a reusable element, because we're using the dry method. We're learning to take responsibility as developers to not repeat ourselves. So convert to a reusable element, call this brand. Create. Okay, there it is there. And to get back to where we were, click the drop down, and here we have brand, navbar, and footer. So now if we go to the navbar, the brand is now available at the bottom here in the reusable elements section. Here it is. So I click it once, head over to the first group, group brand, click it again. There it is inside. Okay. And now on the layout, I just need to center it vertically. And I can also choose to fit with content if I'd like, may as well. You can see because it's a reusable element that the label's now gone from blue, which is a regular container, to purple. Now for links, let's put some links in the center. So I'm going to click on link and I'm going to drop it into the center group. Let's call this browse jobs. Okay, now remember we set up a style, so change this to a, no, we have button styles. So I'm going to detach this. I'm going to set up another style. And that style is going to be 16 pixels. Medium. Center aligned. And the black color. And then on the layout tab, it's going to be vertically aligned in the center. I'm going to remove the fixed width, remove the min width, but fit width to content. That's what we want. And then remove the min height. Now I can copy and paste this. This one we could say maybe about us. Copy and paste one more time using the keyboard shortcut and say jobs, and say blog. Now I'm just choosing to have 2 links here. You could have many as you like, as long as it works responsibly. Okay, now I have to set up the distribution of the child elements. The child elements are these links. So I'm going to click on the parent, group links, go to the layout, choose center align in that row, please, and apply some gap spacing of 20 on the column between these, okay? Between them. Fantastic. Now for the actual button. So the first one is login and the other one is sign up. So I'm going to click on button, drop it in the last group. Okay, this looks like a primary button to me, so let's call this sign up. And then let's have a look at the layout of this button. Remove the fixed width, remove the min width. Fit width to content. Fantastic. And let's set the height to 44 pixels. Now, you'll probably remember how to vertically align this. Here is a little cheat sheet here. Vertical alignment in the center, please. Now I want this on the right-hand side. So we don't see a way to put it to the right-hand side here. So that probably means that the parent needs to control the distribution and the layouts. So I'm going to click on the parent, which is group buttons, and I'm going to choose container alignment to the right-hand side. Fantastic. So that is our sign up button, but what about our login button? So let's copy and paste the sign up button. Command C, Command V. Come across back to the left-hand side. And then let's look at our styles. So we have an outline button. Let's have a look at that. That's a default by bubble, close to what I'm after. So I'm going to detach the style and I'm going to create my secondary button now. Okay. So the font color is going to be the black color. It's going to be 16 pixels. Needs to be consistent with the other styling. I'm going to choose medium. Background style is flat color, and then on the borders it's going to be 8 on the roundness, and the color is going to be our borders color. Lastly, no outset on this guy. And on the conditional statement, I'm just going to have a look. I'm going to remove this hover because I'm going to come back to this soon. Now that we've finished styling this button, let's call it login. And let's just give it the name, create a new style of secondary button. Now you can see that the default naming convention we've created with Bubble is slightly different. And that's because there is no right or wrong way to create these particular design systems or naming conventions for styles, okay? But I just want to show you how to adapt what we've given you to create your own system. So we need a bit of column gap between these two buttons. So let's do that. On the layout tab, let's do about 12 on this. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, so the next stage is we have to deal with the responsive design. Okay, so head across to the responsive tab and let's click 1200, looking good. 992, looking good. Starting to get a little bit squishy. If I had another link in there, to start to be slightly problematic. Let's go to 768. Okay, so that's a problem. So now we have to choose a breakpoint 992. So that's the process. You just put the design into the responsive tab to see what the designs look like at these particular breakpoints. Yes, you can also pull out these handles if you want to be even more precise, but I prefer just to use a particular system before the design it becomes unfavorable. So at 992, I'm going to do this. Highlight group links. We're in the responsive tab. We've clicked on 992 and we've clicked on group links. We're going to set a condition here. So click on the conditional. This is going to be a familiar one. we're going to say when page for page width smaller than sign, then type 992. That brings up the tablet breakpoint. Choose that. Okay, the expression has resolved to blue. Looking good so far. Now click the drop down, and this is a simple one. This element is visible. So let's select that, and we can see a checkbox. Well, why don't we say below 992, because that's where the design becomes problematic. Let's actually hide it. As simple as that. There's one more thing we need to do. So if I pull this handle down, you can see that it's now hidden, but the space still remains. The center space still remains. So we have to instruct Bubble to collapse the space. It's called collapsing. So collapse can be a vertical collapse or can be a horizontal collapse, but basically remove the space. So on the Layout tab, we're going to choose collapse when hidden, almost down towards the center. So watch what happens when I check this box. That is now closed down, almost doesn't exist, but it'll come back at my breakpoint. I'm now going to right click. I'm going to make sure that group links is highlighted in the property editor. Right click, save some time, copy special, copy conditional expressions. Then we're going to click on group buttons, right click, paste special, paste conditional expressions. Now look what happens. Okay, and the last thing we need to do in this group is just check the box in the Layout tab to say collapse when hidden. That deals with that. Now, we're almost there. As you can see, it's slightly more involved. What about the little icon to engage or to show at mobile widths? Let's do that, and then we'll take a break. So let's go back to the UI builder for this. Let's go back to the UI builder. And what we're going to do is install a new plugin. So go over to install more, and then just type the word material. And actually I can see if material, Google material icons doesn't show, just type material in here. So we want this one created by Bubble. We can see almost 1 million app installs. Let's install that. And done. Now it's going to show up in the visual elements towards the bottom. Here we have material icon. So I'm going to click once and I'm going to click again. Big old smiley face. Let's fix that first of all. In the Layout tab, we're going to choose 24 by 24. Okay, it's quite small, but bear with me. Vertical alignment, choose the center. Now head over to the Appearance tab, change the color to our black. Remove the roundness, roundness 0. We don't want roundness on these icons. Now let's click on the icon, choose an icon option. Let's type menu. Let's look for the 3 bars. Fantastic. Okay. Now I'd like you to click back on this material icon. Sorry, to right click on the material icon and then choose group elements in and align to parent container. Because what we're going to do now is, I don't really like the look of big icons. Icons look better when they're small, but the touch area for the thumb is now too small. We need at least 44 pixels touch area for mobile. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to align to parent, add it to an align to parent container. Click that. We're going to call this group mobile. Actually call it group menu. Then on the Layout tab, we're going to check fixed width, set it to 44. Then we're going to check fixed height, set it to 44. And if your icon isn't in the center of that parent group, just click on the icon and you have the ability to control the positioning. Okay, but we do need to push these apart. So if we go back to the responsive tab, we're almost done, guys. Back to the responsive tab, you can see that it's in the wrong position. It should be on the far on the right-hand side. It should be over here. So click on your 768 breakpoint, so the other ones are hidden. Bring up the property editor, and we're going to change the alignment here, folks. We're going to choose the alignment space between, and that pushes it to the right-hand side. Let's go back to 992 when you've done that. Last thing we need to do is at desktop widths, this needs to be hidden. So we're going to do this slightly differently. On the Layout tab, I'm going to say this element is visible on page load, uncheck, and collapse when hidden. And now we need to bring it back below 992. So on the Conditionals tab, last condition, when page is smaller than 992, that's when this element is visible. Check. Yes, we want to bring it back. Okay, so 768, there it is, 992, it's gone. Last thing we need to do is head across to the index page, scroll down to the bottom, find your nav bar, click once, and click again on the page, and there we have it. Now I've got one issue to resolve. Let's click that. This might be a bit of a bug. We're going to leave it for now. What I want to do is actually preview the page. Actually, before we preview the page, double click on your group section over here where my mouse is on the image. Go to the Layout tab, and I want to move this down by 80 pixels. So I'm going to choose 80 pixel of top margin. That might be a small bug. I'm just going to actually delete this nav bar again, and I'm going to select it again in the top left hand corner. I'm going to drop it. Okay, so it looks like the nav bar became embedded into the group section. So I moved the group section down by 80 pixels, and then when it dropped in the reusable floating group, I made sure it dropped it in the top left hand corner. So let's preview what it looks like. Refresh the page. Fantastic. So you can see it's in a sticky position at the top and the content scrolls beneath. If you can see the content, it means that you haven't set your nav bar background color to a solid primary contrast, white color. And let's lastly just inspect this page. Bring it down to mobile width. Here's a mobile icon, and it's looking pretty good. Small issue to fix on the footer, which we'll establish at a later lesson. Okay, folks, so that concludes section 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I know there were some difficult parts, but it's through the process of repetition and contextual building that it will become clear and far, far easier in the future lessons. I'll see you in the next section.